Good morning, YouTube, BookTube. This is Johnny, and it's been at least 3, 4, 5 days since I made a video, and I thought it's time to make a video. Videos are kind of easy for me to make because I don't edit. I just spontaneously turn the camera on and I just talk about what I've been doing, what I've been thinking, feeling, experiencing, political commentary, state of my spiritual state, psychological state, intellectual state. I just come on and try to be real, speak from my heart. And today is a Friday, so this is a Friday Reads. It is July the 26th, 2024. It is 9:54 in the morning. My wife left with the granddaughters, Josie and Cora, to go to church and help fold church bulletins. Then they're going to go to Meijer's grocery store. They're going to go to McDonald's and have a time together. And so Papa's here, hanging out, writing in my diary. I just finished writing on page 630 for the year 2024, 6030, and then I was going to start in a minute after I do this video. I'll be on page 631 for the year 2024. We're going into the 8th month. Next Friday will be in the month of August. And that's the month I was born. Also the month that our second son, Josiah, was born, August the 3rd. I'll be 72 and he'll be 42. So what I've been reading, first of all, I thought what I would do is, yesterday I had to go to Staples office supply store and get printer paper for our printer because Carol's really involved in all kinds of church activities, and she's always copying off stuff off the printer. So we were running out of paper and I went to Staples. I like office supply stores. I like buying paper and, but what I thought I'd show you, I went to Staples recently because they have back to school sales. And that's when I store up on buying folders for my paper diary. So, and then I buy a calendar for the 2025. These sell out really fast, these calendars. So I always buy them early. So I already have January 2025. Yeah, I put these at the front of my diary and I put down maybe appointments or birthdays or things about my life. So yeah, I buy folders. Also, I'll show you my folders. These are my folders for the next 2 years. See, like I was at Staples yesterday. My first time I bought folders, they go for about 25 cents. Now they usually go for $1, sometimes more. And I have to get folders that have prongs. Not just pockets, but I need prongs. And so I store up, when there's back to school sales, I buy a ton of folders. So, and then I buy paper. And I buy paper, and I buy folders, and I buy composition books that I write on. Now I write in my paper diary during the day, and then at night when I'm down in the lower level before I go to bed, I write in these composition books my last words before I go to bed. I started doing this. I start writing in composition books. This book is, I have a book here that I keep track of money. Every once in a while, I'll take money out of my Edward Jones account. I have an investment account, and I'll take out like $1,000, and then I'll write down what I spend it on. Like, you know, I keep track of what I spent. Usually I give Carol around $300, and sometimes I give her $400 for like my Amazon bill or birthdays, or we go out for dinner, or it's her birthday, or something. Like when she went to the Gospel Coalition conference last month, I gave her money to buy books from my Edward Jones account. So I have one of those that I keep track of what I spend my money on. I started doing this about 2 years ago, just curious what I would spend. You know, $1,000 is, you know, I watch some shows where people say, oh, that's worth, you know, $5,000. I could spend $5,000 in an hour. I could spend $10,000 in an hour. Now, if you gave me $1 million, I might have problems. So I buy composition books. I bought these when they were on sale at the Book Nook when it closed. The Book Nook will open, the library used bookstore that I volunteered at for over 10 years, should be opened in September. So I'm looking forward to that. So then I buy paper, and I always buy pens. I got pens. I love pens. I got drawers of pens. But the ones I've really got into lately, as far as pens, are these things. They're called Energel Liquid Gel Ink Penlet. So they had these on sale at Staples for $4 for 3. So I got lots of pens. I got tons of paper. I got folders. So if there is any kind of nuclear attack, we can go into shelter, and I can grab a ton of paper, composition books, and pens, and write down the last days of mankind. So yeah, so I got at Staples, I got folders, I got paper, I got pens. But I also, when I was out at Staples, which is north side of Holland, I stopped at Goodwill, north side Goodwill. We have south side Goodwill, which I'll probably visit today, or at least maybe tomorrow. And I look for used books. And then you have north side Goodwill and south side. So at north side, they didn't have anything at Goodwill. And then I went to Staples, which is right near Goodwill. And then you go past Staples through a stoplight, and you come to Salvation Army. And at Salvation Army, I found Salvation Army is like a thrift store. They sell clothes and furniture, knickknacks, all kinds of stuff, but they sell used books. And I found these 3 at Salvation Army. I found Confessions of an Igloo Dweller, Memories of Old Arctic by James Houston. This is a memoir by, it says here, this autobiographical narrative uniquely evokes the old days in the Arctic, when mail came to Buffin Island only once a year on the icebreaker. In 1948, James Houston, a 27-year-old Canadian Army veteran and art student, got an unexpected plane ride to the distant north. There he felt instantaneously at home with the smiling, utterly competent native people who quickly accepted him as their friend. He lived among the Inuit from 1948 to 1962, serving for part of the time as the civil administrator for West Baffin Island, an area of 65,000 square miles. His major objective, though, was to encourage the natural abilities of the Inuit artists and help them develop an Eskimo cooperative, which provided an essential connection to outlets in South for the remarkable stone block prints and stone sculptures. So I got that. I like memoirs. I like, there's all kinds of drawings in here, artwork, just little things. But I like reading about memoirs, about people, explorers and artists and things like that. And then I found at Salvation Army, White Savage, William Johnson and the Invention of America by Fintan O'Toole. This, I never heard of William Johnson. He was superintendent for an Indian Affairs for the colony of New York from 1756 until his death in 1774. Was a heroic figure whose life is stuff of legend. So yeah, this covered like the French and Indian War. He lived among the Iroquois Indians. He learned their language, their culture. He married an Iroquois woman along with his other wife. Anyway, and then after I was at Salvation Army, I went to Blue Stockings bookshop, and I go there because I have in-store credit, and they always getting used books. And oh wait a minute, I found this at Salvation Army too. I take this back. I forgot this one. I got this at Salvation Army too. This is called Avengers of the New World. This is the story of the Haitian Revolution, which Haiti, there in the Caribbean. This covers that Haitian Revolution. It was the first successful slave revolution there in Haiti. The first and only successful slave revolution in the Americas began in 1791, when thousands of brutally exploited slaves rose up against their masters on South Dominica, the most profitable colony in the 18th century Atlantic world. Within a few years, the slave insurgents forced the French administrators of the colony to emancipate them, a decision ratified by revolutionary Paris in 1794. This victory was a stunning challenge to the order of master and slave relations throughout Americas, including southern United States, reinforcing the most fervent hopes of slaves and the worst fears of masters. So I got that. And then I went to Blue Stockings and looked around, and I only found 2 books for 50 cents. This book, it's called Our Literary Heritage, a Pictorial History of Writers in America by Van Wyck Brooks and Otto L. Bettmann. Now, Van Wyck Brooks was a very famous American literary historian, and I have 4 or 5 of his books downstairs. And when I saw his name, I grabbed this book, Van Brooks, and it was published in 1956, so it's kind of old, but it just looks at American writers, and it's pictorial, so it has photos. Let me see here, like they have Walt Whitman, very famous photos of him, very famous American writer. And then they have who else that we're familiar with here? Mark Twain. As you know, when I was at the Book Nook before it closed, I bought the works of Mark Twain. And then you have the rise, let me see here. Anyway, it has all these writers that there's a Jack London. So yeah, so I got this, Our Literary Heritage, a Pictorial History of the Writer in America. And then I picked up this book for 50 cents, Christian Iconography, I can't pronounce the word, Christian and Iconography, oh, I can't pronounce it. These were lectures, the Mellon lectures by Andre Grabar, Christian Iconography, I can't pronounce it. A study of its origins, and so I just grabbed. It's only 50 cents. I know I can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce that, but this is what that is. Yeah, it's the history of icons, how they're used, how they develop their origins. So I got those at Blue Stockings. So then I came home yesterday. So what I've been reading, well, I did get a book in the mail, When Christians Disagree, Lessons from the Fractured Relationship of John Owen, a Great Puritan Divine, and Richard Baxter by Tim Cooper. I got this in the mail. So I've been reading this. It's very short. It's only about 140 pages. And then Carol had bought this abridged, updated edition of Richard Baxter's Saints Everlasting Rest by Richard Baxter, edited and abridged by Tim Cooper. So I got that out. He did his doctorate on his doctorate was titled John Owen, Richard Baxter, and the Formation of Nonconformity. And he teaches at the University of Otago in New Zealand. So I got this out, been reading it. I have the Practical Works of Richard Baxter, which has the unabridged edition of Saints Everlasting Rest. I also have this old abridged edition from the 19th century of Saints Everlasting Rest, abridged by Benjamin Fassett. So I've been reading these throughout the day. So I've been reading these. I read these yesterday evening because I didn't have time in the mornings yesterday to read my books for devotions because we have the girls over, Cora and Josie. So it's been kind of hectic in the morning. So at night before I go to bed, I'm still reading the Glastonbury Romance by John Cowper Powys. This thing's over 1,120 pages, and I've read almost 650 pages of this. I'm really enjoying this. Yeah, it's a great read. This was published this came out, I think, in the 40s. He lived from 1872 and he died in 1963. But I don't know when it was exactly published. I thought it was right here, but I don't see it. Anyway, it was published in 1932. Published in 1932. And then I've still been reading for nonfiction, The Age of Atheists, How We Have Sought to Live Since the Death of God by Peter Watson. And I've been reading The German Genius, Europe's Third Renaissance, The Second Scientific Revolution, the 20th Century by Peter Watson. Yeah, I read these. I go out in the front driveway in the afternoons, sit in the shade. If there's a breeze, Carol and I, we sit out there and we read and we talk to the neighbors. And so I've been reading this. I don't think I showed you. I got this Eric Hazen, Balzac's Paris, the City as a Human Comedy. I've been reading this. Reading Conversations with Gutra by Johanna Peter Eckermann. I got into this as I was reading The German Genius. There was a chapter on Gutra, or Gutra. I can't pronounce his name, but this is who I'm talking about. So I got this out. This had been on my desk. I started reading this last year. And then I'm still reading Boredom by Alberto Morvini, translated out of the Italian by Angus Davison. And this morning I'm reading for devotions my Reformation commentary on Isaiah 1 to 39. I'm on chapter 22, verses 1 through 25. So these are my Friday reads. This is supplies from my diaries. I really been blessed reading Saints Everlasting Rest. Many years ago, when I got the practical works of Richard Baxter, I read for several months the unabridged, massive treatise of Baxter on heaven. And it was really, it really had an impact on me, because I went into a deep state of contemplation on the glories and the beauties of heaven, which is focused on Jesus Christ. That's what makes heaven heaven, is seeing the glory and the beauty and the majesty of the Lord Jesus Christ. So I would read from this, but we're going on 23 minutes. I know that I don't try to go over at least 27 minutes. So this is what I've been reading, what I've been writing. But I do recommend the Glastonbury Romance by John Cowper Powys. And I do recommend reading the Bible. My wife and I this morning had devotions. We're almost done. We're going through the New Testament. We're in 2 Corinthians. We're going to be finished with that. And then we go into, I think after 2 Corinthians is Galatians. Yeah. Then we go, Galatians and Romans is one of my favorite Pauline epistles, is the Epistle of the Romans and Galatians. Yeah, one of my favorite verses in Galatians is where it says, it says there in the Epistle of Galatians, chapter 2, verse 19, verse 20. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. That's one of my favorite verses in Galatians. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me, who died for me on the cross, died for my sins, that I might be forgiven of all my sins and have the hope of that everlasting rest of seeing his glory and beauty, worshiping him forever with the elect angels and all the saints of all the ages around the throne of glory. And that's what keeps you going in this world. So I hope you had a good reading week. You have a good reading weekend. Yeah, check out this abridged edition of the Saints' Everlasting Rest by Richard Baxter. You can buy it from Reformation Heritage Books in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You can buy right now. Reformation Heritage Books is selling the 4-volume Practical Works of Richard Baxter's on sale for $152, which is a sale. You can't go wrong reading Richard Baxter. My favorite Puritans are like Thomas Goodwin, Richard Baxter, John Owen, Anthony Burgess, William Bates, people like that. So yeah, so I hope you have a good reading weekend. Thank you for the new subscribers. Do pray that you're all doing well. And yeah, read the Bible, seek the Lord while he may be found. And someday, we're all going to go home and have the saints' everlasting rest. This world is a weary place. We're sojourners as Christians. We're aliens. We're foreigners in the strange land. And we're just traveling through. And we're going to the heavenly Zion. And one day, Jesus Christ will come back again and bring in the new creation and the saints' everlasting rest. So with that, I will close. May the Lord bless. Until next time, bye.